She said it while folding laundry like she was talking about the weather. I think we should see other people. Not a pause. Not even a glance in my direction. Just panties, towel, socks, destruction of our marriage. I didn't respond right away. I was too busy rewinding the sentence in my head. Not because I didn't hear it. Because I did. Perfectly. Word for word. As if she'd rehearsed it in the mirror and chose laundry time as the perfect backdrop. Sorry. I finally managed. She dropped a pair of my boxers into the basket like she was discarding the last piece of respect she had for me. You heard me. Yeah, I heard her. What I didn't hear was the part where she explained why the woman I cooked for, covered for, compromised for, suddenly wanted to try life with someone else. And worse, she expected me to agree. No fight. No emotion. Like I was just a roommate with bonus benefits. She wanted to pause. That night, she slept in the guest room. Her idea. Said she needed mental clarity. She left her phone on the kitchen counter, face down, like a middle finger. I stared at it for 20 minutes. I didn't touch it. Not because I trusted her, but because deep down, I already knew. And if I opened it, I'd have to become someone I wasn't ready to be. Instead, I walked outside barefoot. It was raining. Cold. My socks soaked through in seconds. I sat on the porch swing and just listened to the storm. I remember thinking, so this is how a life comes undone. With laundry and lightning. She didn't mention it again for 2 days. On the third day, she waltzed into the kitchen with a fresh blowout and light perfume, the kind she used to wear on our anniversaries, and smiled over her smoothie. So, are we doing this? I mean, no pressure, but I've been thinking, and it could be good for us. Like growth. Growth. She meant she had someone lined up. Or several. I could feel it in her tone. That fake, breezy confidence people wear when they've already made the jump in their head and are just waiting for you to hand them the parachute. I said nothing. But that night, I made a list. Not a list of ways to win her back. Not a list of places to cry. I wrote down every single thing I gave up in the last 5 years. Friendships I ghosted, opportunities one declined, parts of myself I muted so she could shine louder. By midnight, I had 2 full pages. And right there, somewhere between weekly game nights with Darren and my self-respect, I wrote the words. Let her see other people. And let her see who I become when she does. The next morning, she was humming. Humming. Pouring oat milk into her coffee like she didn't just detonate our marriage over laundry. Wearing that oversized sweater she knew I loved, like it still had power over me. She even asked if I wanted anything from Whole Foods. That's what stunned me the most. Not the suggestion to see other people. Not even the calm way she said it. It was the way she acted afterward, like she'd just adjusted a painting on the wall. Like that's it, we're good now. Conversation over. Marriage updated. I watched her scroll through her phone at the counter, smiling at something. Or someone. She angled the screen slightly away from me. Rookie mistake. She assumed I'd never look. She was right. But not because I trusted her. Because I didn't care anymore. I said yes. I told her I agreed. Let's do it. Let's explore. Let's hit reset. Let's burn it all down with our consent and call it therapy. Her eyes flickered. Just for a second. Surprise. Panic, maybe. Or disappointment that I didn't crumble the way she expected. There's a weird silence when you agree with someone who wanted to fight. She sipped her coffee slowly, buying time. So, you really mean it? I nodded. Yeah. Let's not waste time. I didn't have anyone lined up. No secret lover. No fantasy escape. Just me, a mostly broken man with a growing list of regrets and a marriage that suddenly had an expiration date. But I had something better than a backup plan. I had clarity. She left that evening to get some air. Said she'd probably crash at Lara's. Funny, Lara posted a story from a bar downtown. And guess who wasn't in it? I stayed home. Not because I had nothing to do, but because I needed to watch the house die. I walked through each room like it was already a memory. The couch where we had movie marathons and fell asleep halfway through. The hallway where we danced once, drunk, at midnight. The kitchen where I apologized too many times. I didn't cry. I wrote. I stayed up until 3 a.m., building a portfolio website. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. I reopened my dormant LinkedIn account. I sent 3 cold emails to old clients. I messaged Darren, my best friend who I hadn't seen in 2 years because Marley always said he was a bad influence. By the time the sun came up, I wasn't healed, but I was moving. And Marley? She came home at 6:24 a.m. quietly. Thought I was sleeping. She smelled like someone else's cologne. I said nothing. She tiptoed past me, heels in her hand, heading to the shower. But I noticed something she didn't. Her reflection in the hallway mirror. She wasn't smiling. Not like she expected to be. 3 days. That's how long she pretended everything was fine. She cooked once, took out the trash, kissed me on the cheek before heading out. Every time, she left her wedding ring in a small dish by the sink, like it was costume jewelry she didn't need anymore. And each time, she came home later and later, wearing less and smiling wider. But there was one thing she didn't count on, that I'd actually follow through. The night I told her I had a date, she blinked like I'd just said I was moving to Mars. A date, she repeated. Her voice cracked halfway through the word. Yeah, I said casually, pretending to scroll through my phone. Her name's Sloane. We matched yesterday. There was no Sloane. Yet. But the look on Marley's face? It was like she had thrown a boomerang and just remembered physics. Already? She asked, laughing too hard, like it was a joke. Wow, that was fast. I looked up at her with the same blank face she used on me. Didn't you say this would be good for us? She didn't respond, just nodded, slowly, like she was trying to swallow water and pretend it wasn't choking her. I didn't go on that fake date. Instead, I drove out of the city, took the back roads. No GPS, windows down. I just needed to breathe somewhere that didn't smell like her perfume or betrayal. I ended up by an old dock an hour away, ate a gas station sandwich, and cried until my chest hurt. Then I went home and made the account. Not for revenge. Not to win the breakup before it started. But because I was sick of waiting. I wrote a brutally honest profile. I didn't try to be cool or charming or mysterious. I wrote about pain. About loneliness. About rebuilding. I used my real photo, bad lighting and all. No filters. No pretending. And something strange happened. Women replied. Not a lot. But enough. One of them, A, was a divorcee who'd just left a cheating husband. She was honest, sharp, and didn't care about small talk. We messaged until 2 a.m. the first night. She said, "You don't sound like someone trying to impress anyone." That's rare. I said, "That's because I'm not trying to impress anymore. I'm just trying to be someone I like when I look in the mirror." Meanwhile, back at home, Marley had started wearing lipstick again. She began asking me questions she hadn't asked in months. Are you working late tonight? Is that a new shirt? Who's Sloane again? I didn't answer all of them. I didn't need to. Because the moment she realized I was capable of letting go, truly letting go, she started gripping harder. But here's the twist. I wasn't doing any of it to make her jealous. I was doing it because I felt alive again. And that scared her more than any affair could. She had opened the cage and expected me to pace inside like a well-trained pet. Instead, I walked out. And I wasn't looking back. It was a Thursday night when everything shifted. Marley was in the bathroom, getting ready for a late yoga class, wearing mascara and perfume and the kind of leggings that weren't built for stretching. I was on the couch, replying to A. Her name was Avery, I'd finally asked. She had a warm, sarcastic way of texting. We were making plans to meet the following week for lunch. Something low-key. No pressure. No expectations. I didn't hide the conversation. I didn't tilt the screen or lower the brightness. I just sat there, on our shared couch, and typed back with a calm I hadn't felt in months. Marley walked past me, glancing at my phone in the casual but not casual way. She slowed down, just a hair, then leaned down to grab her water bottle. "You're texting a lot lately," she said, not looking at me. "Yeah," I replied. "I've been talking to someone." She froze, just for a blink, then stood up and smiled in that too wide, brittle way. "That's good," she said. "I'm glad you're taking this seriously. We both are, right?" I just nodded. She left 5 minutes later. Didn't kiss me goodbye this time. I didn't ask where she was going. Because I already knew. Laura, her supposed alibi, had already texted me earlier that day. She'd seen Marley once last week at a coffee shop, but definitely not at any yoga classes. Laura didn't know all the details, but she knew enough to say this. "You deserve better, Clarke. You always have." That night, for the first time since Marley proposed her experiment, I actually dressed up. Nothing fancy, just clean jeans, a fitted black shirt, and the watch she gave me years ago. The one I'd stopped wearing because she said it made me look like I was trying too hard. I wore it anyway. I met Avery in person 2 nights later. She looked exactly like her pictures. Natural, kind eyes, a little tired like me, but open. Real. We sat in a little Italian place near the canal and talked for almost 3 hours. She told me about her ex. I told her about my not-quite-ex-yet wife. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't flirty. It was human, and I hadn't felt that in a long, long time. When I got home, Marley was already there, sitting on the couch. Lights off. Wine half full. She didn't even try to pretend she wasn't waiting up. "You were out," she said softly. It wasn't a question. I nodded and took off my shoes. "With her?" "Her name's Avery," I replied. Silence. She stared at the TV, which was paused on some reality show she wasn't really watching. "You know," she finally said, her voice brittle, "this isn't what I meant." I tilted my head. "No? You said we should see other people." "I meant," she started, then stopped. Her voice cracked. "I thought it would help us. Make us realize what we had, not replace it." And there it was. The confession. She had never really wanted us to grow. She just wanted permission to cheat, without being the villain. And now, seeing me move on without a single scream or accusation, that terrified her. She looked at me like I was someone she didn't recognize, like I had wandered into the wrong house wearing her husband's face. I'd changed, not dramatically, not loudly, but in ways that made her realize she didn't hold the leash anymore. I wasn't waiting for her to come home. I wasn't begging for her love. I wasn't hers. She blinked fast, swallowed something she didn't say, and whispered, "Clarke, do you still love me?" I didn't answer. I just walked past her, into our bedroom, and closed the door. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Her plan wasn't falling apart. It was working, just not for her. The next few days felt like watching a mirror crack in slow motion. Marley didn't say much, but her actions screamed louder than words ever could. She started coming home early. Dinner on the stove, a rare effort. She even made the sweet potato gnocchi I liked, the one she once claimed was too much work for a weeknight. I came home from a run, sweaty and out of breath, and she just smiled like nothing had ever happened. Like we hadn't ripped open the seams of our marriage and quietly bled all over the kitchen floor. I sat down, still in my damp shirt, and she placed a plate in front of me. "I thought we could talk," she said. I didn't answer. I was too tired to fake it, too awake to pretend. She folded her hands together like she was about to confess in church. "I've been thinking, maybe we rushed things. Maybe we weren't supposed to push each other away like that." I cut into the gnocchi. It was overcooked. She didn't notice. "I didn't think you'd actually find someone," she said finally, her voice thin. There it was again, that flicker of disbelief in her eyes. As if she thought I was so emotionally dependent on her, so hollowed out by her approval, that I couldn't possibly stand on my own without crumbling. "You're surprised," I said. She blinked. "What? You're surprised I'm still standing?" She looked like she wanted to deny it. But instead, she just exhaled. "Yeah, I guess I am." I set my fork down. That says more about you than it ever said about me. The silence that followed was not comfortable. That night, she didn't sleep in the guest room. She came into our bed, quietly, without asking. She slid under the covers and didn't touch me, just lay there like a stranger beside me. At some point in the night, she reached for my hand. I let her, but I didn't hold back. She curled her fingers around mine like she was reaching for something long gone. The next day, she called off her plans with whoever she was seeing. She didn't tell me, but I overheard the conversation. She spoke softly, but the words were unmistakable. "I can't keep doing this. I need to fix what I broke." Fix? She wasn't even holding the right tools. Meanwhile, I kept seeing Avery. No kissing, no rushing, just two people being real. She was nothing like Marley, no sharp edges, no passive-aggressive corrections, no power games. Just honesty. For once, I didn't feel like I had to perform to earn someone's affection. And yet, part of me hated that I still felt guilty. I didn't cheat. Marley invited this. She set the whole thing in motion. She lit the match and handed it to me with a smile, expecting I'd drop it or burn myself. Instead, I walked away from the fire. And now that she was smelling the smoke, she suddenly wanted to scream, "Wait." But it was too late for that. What she wanted was me to come back to the role I had before, the emotional sponge, the apologizer, the background extra in her story. But the truth? I didn't know how to be that man anymore. And I didn't want to be. The balance had shifted. She knew it. I knew it. She started asking questions. Small ones at first. "How was your day? Did you have lunch with someone? Are you going to see her again?" And the tone, it wasn't playful anymore. It was cautious, careful, almost afraid. Because for the first time in our entire relationship, I had something she didn't. I had control, not over her, over myself. And she couldn't handle that. She'd asked for an open door. I walked through it. Now she was standing there, holding the knob, realizing she couldn't close it behind me anymore. She called it a reset. That was the word she used when she came into the living room with 2 tickets in her hand. No explanation, no build-up. Just dropped them on the coffee table and said, "I thought we could go back to that place you liked. On the lake. Remember?" Of course, I remembered. It was the restaurant we used to go to every summer, before the late meetings, before the perfume for other men phase, before I became a background character in my own marriage. I didn't say yes right away. I picked up the tickets and looked at them like they might be fake. A trick, maybe. But I knew they were real. The name was embossed in silver script. Reservation time, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. "I thought," she said cautiously, "maybe we could have a night without the weird tension. Just us. Just good food. Talk." I nodded, but inside, I was already planning something else. You see, I wasn't interested in a nostalgia trip. I wasn't interested in pretending we were okay just because she finally realized I wasn't waiting at the door with my heart in my hands. But I was interested in seeing how far she'd go to undo the damage she caused. Saturday night came. I didn't dress up for her. I dressed up for me. A tailored charcoal blazer, clean lines, black boots. No cologne, just confidence. Marley came out in a sleek red dress. Her hair done the way I used to beg her for during our anniversaries. She looked amazing. But I didn't compliment her, and I think that broke something small in her. The ride was silent for most of the way, but I could feel her eyes flicking toward me, waiting for me to fill the space between us with a joke or memory. I didn't. When we arrived, the hostess greeted her by name. She'd clearly made this a big deal. Table by the window, candlelit. 2 wine glasses already waiting. We sat. She reached for my hand halfway through the appetizer. I let her. For 30 seconds. Then I picked up my water glass, broke the contact, and asked a question I'd been holding in for weeks. "Do you regret suggesting we see other people?" She looked stunned, like no part of her imagined I'd actually ask it out loud. She nodded slowly. "Yes, I thought I wanted freedom. I didn't realize I'd feel like I was floating in space, untethered." I didn't say anything. She leaned in. "You've changed. You don't flinch anymore. You don't second-guess yourself. You walk into a room like you're not sorry for taking up space." "I'm not," I said simply. Her eyes were misty now, not crocodile tears, real ones. "I didn't expect that this would make me lose you." I gave a half smile. I didn't expect to find myself in the process. There it was. The moment her face cracked, not into sadness, but into disbelief. Because in her world, Clarke was supposed to be predictable, safe, forever waiting in the wings. The man she could put on pause while she explored options. But I had become something she couldn't categorize anymore. And people like Marley? They fear the things they can't control. Then I did something she never saw coming. I pulled out my phone. I placed it face up on the table. And Avery's message lit up the screen. "Avery, hope your dinner goes well. Let me know how it goes." I mean that. Marley stared at the screen for a long time. No words. Just that red dress, those wide eyes, and the weight of consequences she thought she'd never have to carry. "I thought tonight was about us," she whispered. "It is," I said. "It's about who we are now. You're someone who wanted the freedom to explore. And I'm someone who finally realized I don't need to be chosen last to feel worthy." She looked down, blinking hard. The waitress came over, asking if we wanted dessert. Marley said no. I said yes, because I'd waited long enough for sweetness in this marriage, and I wasn't skipping it now. I don't know exactly when it happened, but somewhere in the middle of all this, the dinner, the distance, the pretending, Marley began to panic. She'd been walking around with this unshakable confidence for months. The type that only shows up when someone thinks they've already won. But now her energy had shifted completely. She started texting me during the day. At first just random things. "Did you eat?" Or, "I saw this meme and thought of you." Then she moved on to memory bombs. Old photos of us, quotes from movies we used to watch, even a voice memo of her playing that dumb ukulele song she learned for our anniversary one year. And I could tell she was spiraling. Not out of guilt, out of fear. Because now she finally understood what she had done. She gave me the keys to walk away, and I didn't just walk, I changed the locks behind me. One week after the dinner, she asked if I could come home early from work. Said she had a surprise. When I arrived, the house smelled like vanilla candles and sautéed garlic. A dangerous combo, but familiar. She was in the kitchen, apron on, hair curled, jazz playing softly like we were about to host guests we didn't have. The table was set for two. The good wine was open. Dinner, she said nervously. I thought maybe we could have one of those start-over nights. I stayed standing. She pulled out my old hoodie, the one she once claimed made me look like a college dropout, and set it on the back of my chair like some symbolic olive branch. She smiled, but her eyes darted. This wasn't confidence. This was a woman who'd used up all her power and now realized the only move left was to try to be what I'd wanted before. She sat down across from me, fidgeting with her bracelet. Clarke, I've been thinking about everything. The whole open relationship idea. It was stupid, selfish. I thought I was unhappy, but really, I just wasn't being grateful. I raised an eyebrow. You weren't unhappy? She swallowed. I thought I was. But it wasn't you. It was me. I thought I needed something more, excitement, newness. But now, after everything, I just keep thinking how safe I felt with you. How you've always been my home. There was a time those words would have shattered me. Now they barely move the needle. Because that version of me, the one who wanted to be her safe space, her permanent backup plan, he was gone. I didn't say anything. I let her talk. She rambled about therapy, about deleting her dating profiles, about how seeing me with someone else made her realize she still wanted me, that I was what she needed, not what she wanted to escape. Then she said it. I want to take it all back. I want us back. Fully. No more seeing other people. Just you and me, Clarke. I leaned back in my chair. And for the first time since this mess started, I spoke with complete clarity. I don't think you understand. You didn't just suggest seeing other people, Marley. You gave up on us. You built a door, opened it, and walked through it. You didn't check to see if I was following. You just assumed I'd be standing there when you got tired. Her face cracked, but I wasn't done. You didn't expect me to become someone who doesn't beg, who doesn't wait, who doesn't need to be chosen last to finally be loved. The silence between us was louder than anything she could have said. She reached across the table, hand trembling, fingers open like a final offering. And I looked at it like a page in an old book I didn't want to reread. I met someone, I said calmly. She doesn't make me feel like a placeholder. Marley's hand froze midair. She's not perfect, I continued. But she sees me. Not the man she wants to fix. Just me. Marley blinked fast, trying to hold back the tears. Clarke, we have history. We also have damage. She whispered, do you still love me? And maybe that was the cruelest part. I didn't know how to answer. Because part of me would always love who she used to be, who we used to be. But the part of me that respected myself, that part had stopped loving her the moment she turned my loyalty into a doormat. I stood up, gently. I'll always care about you, I said. But I'm not sure I can trust you to carry my heart again. She didn't chase me. She didn't cry out. She just sat there. At a table she sat, with candles burning down to nothing. I didn't go back inside. I didn't text her later that night. I didn't fall apart in the driveway, or wait to see if she'd run after me like in some movie where heartbreak fixes itself with one final monologue. I just drove. No destination, no plan. I passed the exit for our street 3 times before realizing I wasn't lost. I just didn't want to go back to where everything had fallen apart. I ended up at the same lake where Avery and I had first met. The benches were empty, the water still. I parked, sat on the hood of my car, and let the silence wrap around me. I was exhausted. Not physically, emotionally. Drained from months of walking on eggshells, over-explaining my worth, shrinking myself just to keep someone else comfortable. But that night, I wasn't shrinking anymore. A text came through. It wasn't from Marley. It was Avery. Wherever you are, I hope you're not apologizing for being too much. You're not. You're just enough. I stared at it for a while, then typed back. I think I finally believed that. We didn't meet that night. There was no grand romantic scene, no rushing into someone else's arms. That wasn't what I needed. I didn't need to be saved. I needed to be seen, and I had finally done that for myself. The next morning, I returned home to pack a few bags. Marley was asleep on the couch, curled up in the hoodie she once mocked. The wine glasses were still out, the candles melted down to wax puddles. She didn't wake up as I moved through the house. I left her a note. Not out of cruelty. Out of respect. You asked for freedom. I gave it to you. I found mine too. I wish you growth and peace. But it's time for me to move forward, without resentment, without rage. Just distance. Take care, Marley. That was it. I moved into a small apartment downtown. Nothing fancy. One bedroom. Too much sunlight in the morning, loud neighbors. But it was mine. And for the first time in years, the air didn't feel heavy. I went back to therapy, restarted some old hobbies, even reconnected with Darren, who literally shouted on the phone, "Dude, you're back from the dead." I saw Avery again. It wasn't a perfect fairy tale. No slow-motion kiss in the rain. Just two people sitting across from each other at a cafe, laughing about how weird life is. But she never once made me feel like I needed to be less than I am. And that was everything. Marley reached out a few weeks later. One long email. She apologized. She admitted the truth about the man she'd seen, about the lies she told herself, about how she never thought I'd actually leave. She asked if we could meet. I told her the truth. I wasn't angry anymore, but I was done looking backward. I didn't need closure. Because peace isn't about getting the last word. It's about choosing yourself when no one else does, and refusing to apologize for the parts of you that were never the problem to begin with. And as I stood in my little kitchen that night, cooking for one, music playing low in the background, I realized something strange. I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was free. And this time, the freedom was mine.